Hey everybody, it's Zafir from No Love Lost 2.0. So today I want you guys to welcome back to the show. We are now in season 3 and continue to show that love, y'all. Make sure y'all hit that notification tab and hit that like while you start listening to this podcast, or if you're going to be watching it on YouTube while you're watching the video. So today I just want to talk about how to set boundaries in friendships and realizing, I know I went over this before, but recently I've went into a situation with somebody that I was having conversations with a good friend of mine and that I got so much love for. And whatever the case may be, they set up here and they're going through certain situations in life. And I always try to tell people, like, if you know that you're not ready to separate yourself from something, before you let the world know, make sure that you know what you really want to do. You know, we have to really know what we want to do, and we have to start telling people our plans before we sit up here and, make action to them. Before we sit up here and get into this big idea of what we're going to do, how about we do it first and then we execute it, and then we go about distributing how people know about it? Because a lot of the times we jump the gun. I've done it before. I could tell you guys, I was in a relationship before with a man, and I was like, I'm done with him. I'm leaving him. He did X, Y, and Z. He's a liar. He's a cheater, and he's a fucked up individual, and I can't be rocking with somebody like that. And then I stayed with the dude another 2.5 years after that, right? I'm not with him anymore, but I had everybody. I mean, like, my mama disliked this guy. Like, my mom met him and she just rolled her eyes. She didn't even shake his hand. So it was that bad. So I try to tell people, like, it really gets that serious. So that's why sometimes it's best to keep things to yourself. We have to stop announcing, the good things or the bad things too early, especially when you don't know how you're going to navigate them. And then you sit up here and you go back and you start dealing with the situation again, or you start living life in a positive way, and then you have people hating on you. We have to really know when to say things and when not to say things. Like, I know people who are in friendships with people that they truly don't want to be in friendships with, but they feel conditioned to stay in them only due to the fact that there's a long-term history there. And I tell people history don't mean nothing. I always say that. What means something is how you react and how you conduct yourself with a person. What that means is the way you love on a person and the way you care about a person is very imperative to how that relationship will grow. But if you're dishonest about how you truly feel in a friendship or a relationship, things are going to get stagnant. Tension is going to happen. Problems are going to proceed to keep coming up. And I always feel like this. If you're my friend, I'm not about to argue with you every day. I'm not about to argue with you every week. If we have a real cohesive, loving, supportive relationship as friends, why are we engaging in situations where we are so bitter and mad at each other? And I have friends that deal with that, and I'm like, I don't know. And they'd be like, oh, well, I know if it was you, Zafir, you wouldn't deal with that. I said I wouldn't, because I don't have time to be miserable. I've been there, done that. That's depression. I know what that spirit is. I don't need that in my life. So I try to tell people, you know what? Sometimes you invite misery just by being complacent and compliant. Saying nothing is sometimes an alignment and agreement with something that you truly may not agree with. So you have to sit up here and make decisions and make those uncomfortable conversations about relationships or boundaries that you have with people. Because if you don't, you allow somebody to run all over you, and at one point it may be their fault, but then it becomes yours. And the reason why it becomes yours is because you're responsible for yourself. We always say that, oh, you're responsible for yourself, but you know what? You're also responsible for how you feel. If you allow something to go to the point where it continues to hurt you and you allow it to keep going on, that's on you now. Now you stuck with that situation. Now you stuck with that pain and grief. Because I always tell people, if I do something that offends you, disrespects you, or makes you feel some type of way, please put me to the side, tell me that I did X, Y, and Z. And you know what? If I genuinely feel like I did something wrong, or if you tell me I hurt you, I can't tell you I didn't hurt you. All I can understand, I don't have to also agree with it either, but I can acknowledge your feelings that you may have been hurt by something I have done. But if I sit up here and say, if you say nothing to me and I keep doing it, and then 5 years go by, and then one day you finally had it, I can't stand you, you always da-da-da-da-da. What did that really do? Because now I'm looking at you like, okay, and you feel that way based off of what you didn't do. And I don't understand how people get to adulthood and be so weak. And and what I mean is, when I say weak, it's like, you're not going to speak your mind as an adult. You're going to allow your friend or your family or your partner to sit here and make you feel ways and not even speak on it at all. You're not going to even sit here and have a conversation as an adult and engage and say, hey, I don't like this and I don't like that. And, or maybe we can try to communicate like this because the way you're communicating to me, I don't feel respected. I don't understand how people remain compliant and complacent and quiet. Like, how do you do that? And then you sit up here and have the nerve to talk about your friend or your partner to somebody else and then feel like, oh, well, they did this, and they did that. But what did you do to stop it from the beginning? How did it go on this far? How did it get this far to the point where you're this upset and now you're uncontrollable? Now your emotions are uncontrollable because you've been holding it in all this time. You have been sitting here trapped with the pain of ignorance of not allowing your voice to be heard. I don't understand that. That's why sometimes I'll be looking at people and I'll be like, yo, how did you get to this age? And how? How did you get to this age allowing people to do what they want to do to you? I don't understand. And then I sit here and I see, then I do have friends that I actually know them on personal deep levels where I do understand because I'm like, okay, that was something that you were conditioned to be raised by. You were raised to be complacent. You were raised to just follow the leader. Listen, I wasn't raised like that. One thing about it is me and my mother may not get along and we may not talk. But one thing is she always made sure all her children were strong. And that means with our voice or how we felt, we always were told to say how we felt because my mother grew up in an age where, children were to be seen and not heard. My mother didn't raise us like that. She raised us to speak our minds. Of course, in a way that we can convey it and respectfully. Because I always tell people, when you sit up here and you shout and you disrespect people, they don't hear you. They don't hear anything. Because once you start yelling at me, literally my mind is shut off from you automatically. So my friend, basically him and the person, they sit up here, they're going through a situation where, something stupid happened, like something like I even thought like maybe y'all could work this out, because the issue was basically somebody texting them that they're no longer with, but it was like the person, like the partner didn't respond back. I don't know, because it was on a website where messages disappear. But I always tell people, when you're on websites where the messages disappear, or you on apps where the messages disappear, those are cheating apps. I always tell people, like, Snapchat is a cheating app. Instagram is not too much of a cheating app because if you put too much of your personal life on there, you got to be careful depending on who you give that to. But I know that Snapchat is a cheating app because those messages disappear. So if you use the Snapchat, WhatsApp, and I'm not saying you cheating, but what I'm saying is if your partner finds something in it that they feel like, hey, you shouldn't have that. I think you should listen to them, at least hear them out. That doesn't mean do what they say, but that definitely means you should hear them out because it's like, that's a little shaky, a little rocky. Like, what you doing that you got to even do all that? Because what you hiding for? So I had told my friend, I said, listen, if you're not ready to leave the situation, you need to be quiet on it in the sense of, I am going to support you in whatever you choose to do. But at the same time, you have to be mindful of what you tell people because now they're going to look at that person a certain type of way. And mind you, especially if they don't have a relationship with the person, meaning that you guys have been in partnership, but nobody knows that person. And then that's another thing. It's okay to keep your partner to yourself. Like me and my partner, I post my husband, but not really. Not because I'm ashamed to. I post my husband when I feel like it, but I'm not big on posting too much of my personal life on my social media. Not too much. Holidays and stuff like that. I may do it, but not too much. If you have to hide the person you care about, and you have to hide them and close friends or hide them and post them on social media, but you're hiding them and you're putting them in close friends and not in your public, then you shouldn't even be posting it. You shouldn't even be posting it. We got to take responsibility and accountability when we know when something's really not for us and we continue on with it. And like I told my friend, I said, I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you if this person is for you or not. I said, but if they truly are for you, you wouldn't have to hide them. You wouldn't hide them in any shape or manner because at the end of the day, your love for them and your respect for them don't mean you need to post them all the time, but it means that you wouldn't sit up here and hide the fact that you're with them in a public platform, but put it in a close friends. See, this is why I be sitting here telling people love to be a victim because yes, that person may have had something on Snapchat that was inappropriate, but you in some ways have hidden them as well. you know, and you have to be responsible for yourself with that. You have to be emotionally mature and logical. You can't sit up here and just think with your emotions, because honestly, I always tell people your emotions will have you sitting in somebody's jail. Your emotions will have you sitting down somewhere reevaluating how you're going to go about living life, because a lot of the times when we react off emotion, we're irrational. And what happens with irrational anger and madness, all that combined coming together equals 911. And we already know you don't want that situation in your life. You don't want 911 pulling up on your house on some domestic violence or no bullshit. You shouldn't be doing anything that puts you in that place, even when the other person may have hurt you and may have put their hands on you or may have done something inappropriate that hurts your feelings. You are not right to sit up here and become destructive. Remove yourself. The biggest and the best thing you could do for yourself in situations that make you feel like you cannot think rational is to leave. And the reason why I say that is because if you're a person that cannot control your emotions in the moment, when the situation, when the partner has hurt you, when the family member has hurt you, whenever the friend has hurt you, you're going to sit here and end up in a situation that you're not going to be able to easily come back from. And it's not worth it. It's not worth it to engage with people who make you feel that you cannot be in control. You have to be in control of yourself. Nobody is responsible for your reaction. But at the same time, people's actions, they have to realize a reaction comes with it. So with that being said, I try to tell my friends, like, hey, if you're going to involve yourself with people that aggravate you and agitate you and bring you to a place of anger that you physically want to get violent, you don't need to be around that person. You don't need to be around anybody that says they love you and calls you out your name or disrespects you or calls you weak or calls you B words. And that's for females and men. You don't need to engage with people who make you feel small because they want to feel big. A lot of people want to be the star of the show, but everybody don't have that quality. And what I mean by that is you can be in a relationship with somebody and they can be competing with you. It's the same thing with friends. This is why, like, whenever my friends go through certain situations or the depression or stuff, like, I'll check on you, I'll look out for you, and I'll give you that space. But at the same time, I'm always going to make sure, hey, yo, if you're not good, just say you're not good. I got you. But me gotten you don't mean that if you continue to do stuff that you know damn well it ain't gonna do nothing for you but hurt you. I'm not gonna be a witness to that. I'm not going to be a co-conspirator to no bullshit like that. I'm not going to be a co-conspirator to your bullshit and the fact that you are not smart enough to realize that you're better than that. You're better than dealing and diving in nasty situations that only are going to lead to you being in some type of form of trouble. And I really never understood why people do that, but I've done it. And now that I'm older, I look and I'll be like, nah, I can't get down like that. I can't get boogie with that, because you know what? At the end of the day, nobody is going to have my back like I got my back but God, and my husband, but when it comes to friends, I try to tell my friends the only reason why I will separate from you is, and if it's not permanent, you'll know, because if it's not permanent, it just means I need to step back because I don't like something you did, or I don't like the way you're moving, or I feel like something bad about to happen, and I keep trying to tell you and keep trying to warn you and look out for you, and you keep doing what you want to do. But in the process of you doing what you want to do, I also realize that I have to step back and allow you to get hurt if that becomes the situation. Nobody wants to see their friends and family hurt, but sometimes you have to allow people to be hurt in order for them to learn. They have to learn this on their own. And sometimes that just comes with you just sitting back and not saying anything. And I realized that. So everybody, I want you to make sure you check out No Love Lost 2.0. I want you guys to make sure you check it out on YouTube, iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music. You can stream on all platforms. We are now well over 1 million views on YouTube, and we have other millions of views on different streaming platforms, and I'm very grateful and proud. So you guys continue to show that love, and don't forget, it's one love.